Okay, good evening. We'll call the regular meeting of the Menifee City Council to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk, please.
Councilmember August. Councilmember Furman.
Here.
Councilmember Denver.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Edgerton.
Here.
Mayor Mann.
Here.
Thank you.
And we have Pastor Jim Edwards from Revival Christian Fellowship to deliver our words of inspiration tonight. Pastor Jim.
Dear God in heaven, we come before you tonight and just want to say thank you for the many blessings that you give every day, and namely, Lord, the very breath that we have and the food in our stomach, the clothes on our back. God, we thank you for the many leaders that you're raising up in our community here, and we would pray, Lord, that these men and women who help us in our community would do justly and love mercy and want to walk humbly before you, God. Help us tonight as we gather together and as a community, Lord. Thank you that we can have this time and to talk about needs, to talk about every citizen has their own need. Lord, I want to pray for each and every citizen that's here tonight, that you know their needs, Lord, and they've come here to seek help and guidance and help in the communication process, Lord. We pray that you would grant wisdom and discernment in all of these great needs that our community has. We thank you for that because there's growth. And Lord, we know that with growth, there's those needs and we're asking that there's certain things that you can certainly pour out and give favor for. And so we're asking for that, Lord. Your will be done in that. We thank you for the many services and that we have for our safety of our community. Lord, bless the firefighters and their families, the police and their families. Lord, thank you for helping to protect our community. And Lord, we would just ask that your presence be here, the beginning and throughout and to the end of the meeting here tonight, and that it would be done in a way that's decently and in order for the good purposes of each and every one here. So thank you for hearing our prayers. We pray in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you very kindly. And Councilmember August, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, please join me in the city council.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very kindly. Madam Clerk, it looks like we have a presentation this evening, Santa's Workshop, Spark of Love. Yes.
May I first have the city attorney report out from your earlier session?
No, no, I'm just kidding. Yes,
Oh.
please.
And then could we pass
Yeah.
the mic to your city manager for a brief introduction?
Of course.
Thank you.
Please proceed. Thank you
Yes.
for the correction.
The council met in closed session pursuant to the matter that was on the agenda relating to a matter of potential litigation. There was no reportable action taken.
Okay. Make it right away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I have an introduction for you tonight. We have a new hire that's in the house. His name is Joe Gonzalez. Joe, would you please stand and wave? Joe's our new Public Works Administrative Analyst. Joe comes to us from Senator Emerson's office, and we'll be working in the Public Works Department, coordinating some of our emergency services, as well as providing analytical work for our Public Works team. So, welcome, Joe.
Welcome aboard, sir. The senator's loss is our gain. Onward then to the presentations. We have
Debbie Mannion here to present Sparkle of Toy Drive.
Hello, my name is Debbie Mannion. I'm with Lake Menifee Women's Club, and we partner with Spark of Love for the toys for the kids in Menifee. Leonard Grill is the captain of the Quail Valley Fire Department, who is our partner, and his wife Linda and is here also. So, and John Denver asked if I would come up and just kind of let you guys know what's going on and how the program works. We basically try and provide toys for children in the city of Menifee that are in need of toys. Up here we have pictures of of last year's event that just will keep showing. We have about 900 students or 900 kids that get toys from us. It's gone from 1,200 to 900, 800. Last year was close to 900. We have about 300 volunteers that work the program between the gathering the toys and the day of the event. We put boxes out in the businesses in the community to collect the toys. There's about 75 boxes out in the community to collect the toys. This year, this is the picture on the boxes, so you'll recognize the boxes for toys. The toys collected here in Menifee stay in Menifee. Our families are all qualified through the community cupboard as in need of this program. When the way the day of the event works, the Friday before we set everything up, takes a whole day. The next day, we actually disperse the toys. The kids are all given a time to show up. They're given a postcard ahead of time, says what time your time is to come sit on Santa's lap. John Denver's been Santa, Mrs. Santa is his wife, so you'll see their pictures up in there as well. When the kids come that day, they check in, they get... They then actually color a frame for a picture. You have the program, which is inside the program is where the pictures go. And then they get a card for a drawing for a bike. Last few years we've had close to 50 bikes that the kids are drawn for, and they pick up the week after the event. Then once they color their picture, they go see Santa. They sit on Santa's lap. Then they leave Santa, pick out a toy. Our goal is to give each of them 2 toys. And the elves, which is the football teams and the kids, all help the children pick out their toys. The toys are on each table by age group. Then once they leave the toy area, then they get a stuffed animal. Then they get a book, a family game, and then there's another hallway where they get goodie bags, which is like pencils, snacks, crackers, anything that's been donated throughout that we can give them. They get a goodie bag. Then once they go from there, then they get to make a Christmas ornament, and then they get to play some games and get some prizes. Then they get toys. Then they get cookies and punch, and then they leave the event. So it basically takes the kids and families about 45 minutes to go through the whole thing. And the delight on the kids is just amazing. We would like to invite you guys all to come see the event. We have a little...
There's a picture. That's a picture. I like that.
That's a good one.
Someday I'll tell you what she
That's for, the Oasis has been a huge supporter of ours as well. They provide a good share of our toys and bikes, and so we also have sponsor donation brochures if anybody wants to tell us that their business wants a box for the toys or cash donations. The cash donations are used to buy toys, and we do the shopping at the end of the season just to fill in where age groups are low. If we're low in the 5 to 9 or the 9 to 12, then we shop for the 9 to 12-year-olds. So it depends on what area we need to fill in. That's what the cash donations are used for. And that's about it. It's just fun to watch them. We welcome everybody to come see the event.
Thank you, Debbie, very kindly. Don't walk
Oh,
away.
the event is in December 21st. It's the Saturday before Easter, Saturday before Christmas, and the kids come from 8:30 to 3. At Quail Valley Elementary
Yeah,
School.
those
Yes.
pictures were from Quail Valley Elementary, weren't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're all from Quail Valley Elementary
Great
School.
facility that was. Are there any
Okay.
questions?
Any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just have some comments. This is probably the most fun thing I do all year. It's, I don't know how many thousand people get pictures, but you can see that there's 6, 8, 7 people in every picture, and there's just bunches of pictures. This last year, Tom Furman was Santa Claus from the afternoon on, and in part, besides we need to each train to have a second position in case something happens. But it was very emotional last year. A little kid comes up and asks me, I said, what do you want for Christmas? And he says, I want my daddy back. And after talking to Mom, the daddy had gone to prison, and Santa Claus has a hard time with that. On a lighter note, it's also, Santa Claus gets sick for about 30 days after that. And these little, wonderful little kids, I'll never forget when Mom, who waited in line for an hour, put the little boy on my knee, it went squish, and I went, oh. And so Santa does get sick, so we're limiting the amount of times that Santa does this so that I can live to the next year.
Well, you know what? Perhaps you and Councilmember Furman need to start growing your beards now and get them going. Are there any other questions?
Any other questions?
All right, Debbie, thank you very
All right,
much for
thank you.
presenting. Worthwhile cause. Thank you kindly. On to the next agenda item. Do we have any modifications for the agenda this evening?
No, sir.
Then the agenda is, any objections? So ordered. Public comments. Do we have any public speakers this
Could
evening?
we,
Excuse me, I'm sorry. We have 2 agenda items under the approval of minutes, and 6.1 minutes of the October 16th agenda. Councilmember Furman, I believe you need to abstain from that one because you weren't here. I'll entertain a motion for 6.1.
Motion approved. Second.
Any objections? So ordered. 6.2, minutes of the 23rd, 2013 special meeting of the workshop with the law enforcement. May I have a motion? Second. Any objections? So ordered. Okay, on to then public comments. Sorry,
Yes,
I
sir.
blew through that a little bit too fast.
That's all right, moving us right along. Rosemary Elwright.
Thank you, council members, staff, community. I just want to take this opportunity to invite all of the greater community of Menifee to join with the SCCA on our second annual Christmas with the Corps celebration. It'll scheduled to be held December 21st at 4 in the afternoon. We have a great evening of entertainment planned, traditional seasonal dinner, and the tickets are $10, and they're available from our office. Our office hours are Monday through Thursday from 9 to noon, 1 to 4, and Friday from 9 to 12. So it should be fun. I know we had a good turnout last year, and we're looking forward to participation from the community itself to join us in this annual event. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Josie Garcia.
Good afternoon. I have problems with my throat, so I might a little bit. I moved to Menifee. My husband and I moved to Menifee over 8 years ago, and if anybody's familiar with Bell Mountain, I live right underneath it. Came out here to buy our dream property. We have like 100 pine trees and maybe 50 fruit trees. It was the place we were going to retire and have our children come, and plenty of room and everything. But my neighbor has changed his property into it's not a residential property. He has built a business there. Nobody lives there. Lights are on all night. Traffic starts at 6 o'clock in the morning and sometimes doesn't end till on his property because his house is towards the back and his gate is up here. And so there's traffic going, you know, at all times of the day. I have had to bring my grandchildren in because of the vulgarity of the men who are talking. I turned out to get COPD. I don't know if it's because of the environment, but this is supposed to be a good environment. I have to stay in the house because I can't breathe all of that stuff. When my husband and I bought the property, we were told this is prime property, and that's why you're paying so much. We paid a little over $500,000 for the property. It's no longer prime property. My house is upside down, so I don't even have the choice to sell it because who would want to live next door to a commercial property? And so I hope that you guys, I do have some pictures. Can you pass them out now or next time?
You can give you can hand the pictures to the city clerk when we're done talking, but the council may have a question or two for you.
Okay.
Even though are you finished with your public comment?
Yes.
Okay. Quick questions only, not a public hearing. Mr. Edgerton.
Right, you're giving that information to the city clerk. And Rob, that's the 3rd district. And I'd like to find out what the lady's referring to and if we can get code enforcement out there to see what's going on. That's not an area where we, to my knowledge, commercial property is legal.
Excuse me, we've had code enforcement out there at least 6 times, and there has been no change. Sent letters to the mayor, no change. We've done just about all that we can. So I would appreciate your attention to this matter because it's making our life almost unbearable.
Well, because code enforcement has been out and nothing has happened, I don't know, maybe there's something in the pipeline, something's going to happen, I don't know. We need to get information on it,
Okay.
and we will. So if you could be sure and give your name and which you already have, and that information to the city clerk, then the city manager will see that it's investigated. I'm the councilman for the district. We'll find out what's going on.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank
Furman,
you very much.
before you step away. Mr. Furman.
Is your property off of Garboni Road?
Is it what?
Is the entrance to your property off of Garboni Road?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. I know where it's at then.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'll have Jonathan Smith, our Public Works Director, meet you in the lobby, and he can get those records from you, get your address, and we'll follow up with you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly for bringing this to our attention, and it may be a matter of this particular property owner also may have filed for a provisional business license under our new ordinance too. So, I mean, there's some things that the staff needs to look into. So let's look into that and get feedback to all parties concerned. Next public speaker, please.
Michael Garcia.
My name is Michael Garcia. I'm here basically about the same thing. The zoning code is enacted based on the authority of California, including but not limited to the state constitution, planning, and zoning law, California Public Resources Code Section 2100, and the California Health and Safety Code 1207. Why is this property on 29135 Leanne Lane being allowed to operate a commercial plumbing company known as Accurate Leak Locators, Inc.? We have contacted code enforcement several times in person and by phone, only to be told said property owner is applying for a conditional permit. Weren't all the proper permits and certifications to be done before opening said business? The property is zoned A1. When purchased, it was advertised as horse property. How can this be eligible for a conditional use permit? To be qualified for a home business, doesn't the home have to be occupied? Aren't there limits on how many people may be working on the property at one time? How many vehicles may be on the property? This has over a fleet of 10. Yet code enforcement and the city of Menifee lets this business continue its operation. The property 29135 Leanne Lane is a private nuisance to the neighboring properties. as it has vehicle traffic entering and exiting at all times of day and night. Employees being vulgar, loud. Light trespass as security lights are allowed to glare at neighboring properties. Quality of air as owner has dumped hundreds of tons of crushed asphalt, which is known to have silica in its dust. Silica is a form of dust that enters and causes bruising to the lungs. After years of exposure, can cause cancer. Have taken the rural country atmosphere that our property was purchased for and turned it into a commercial setting. If this business was given permission to operate a commercial operation, then why aren't those zoning regulations being followed? As lighting standards, our safety, landscaping, has to keep area clean. We can't choose half and half or whatever is cheaper. Zoning laws are intended to promote the health, safety, welfare, convenience, morals, and prosperity of the community at large, rather than to improve the economic interest of any particular property owner. This business was kicked out of the last occupation and has done the same at 29135 Leanne Lane. The city council must have all operations stopped here, but also stop them from moving to another shop. And in closing, the city needs to address this immediately. Accurate leak locators needs to be shut down for massive breaking of codes and city regulations. There should be no special treatment or leniency given to council members or city employees who boast about knowing the regulatory ins and outs of our city government. I am asking that this issue be placed on the agenda in November or December. I demand the city act immediately for the safety of the residents. Thank you.
Mr. Edgerton?
Ryan, once again, Mr. City Manager, you can follow this through. This is,
Absolutely, we have the address now.
I haven't seen
We'll
this.
follow-
There's two different addresses, concerned about businesses complaining, neighbors. So, Jonathan, would you have Jonathan speak to this gentleman as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. He'll talk to you. And you'll follow up, Kathy, and give me the addresses and all the information so I can follow up.
Yes, sir, I
Thank
will.
you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Katie Manier?
Good evening. Thought by now you'd have forgotten me and thought I was never coming back. I'm here tonight to ask for a copy of the appraisal for the land that was purchased from Case and Klein and his company, Pac 10. There should have been 3 appraisals. He bought this land for pennies on the dollar after the city made it impossible for businesses to operate due to more and more fees being assessed to them. The appraisal was $717,000. Yet our city, in all their wisdom, paid $9.9 million for 14 acres and are now working with Mr. Klein for his development of this property. I suppose they'll be giving him waivers for fees, making it easy for him to develop this land. The city's been using reserve money for the last 2 years, so how could they justify paying this astronomical amount for a property which could have been taken by eminent domain since it is for road improvements, highway improvements, which are for the betterment of the public? Mr. Klein has had access to backroom deals at both city council meetings and at planning commission meetings, which is unacceptable as he is just a citizen like the rest of us. This appears to be a conflict of interest and needs to be investigated. You're doing everything underhanded to take another piece of property you so desperately want without fair compensation, and yet you pay well over 8 times the value of a piece of property. Maybe you all would like to buy my property. I think $2 million sounds like a good fee, and that's about 8 times what it's worth right now. I'll make you a deal and let you have it for 1.5 and get the hell out of this town. Every citizen should be shocked and angered by this move. This is our money, the taxpayers' money. You have no responsibility in what you do with this money. Where will that money come from to reimburse the city is what I'd like to know. I'm sure it's going to be in fees to the citizens.
Just a quick question, a clarification. Which property are you talking about?
The property adjacent to where Walmart will be built off of Scott Road.
Oh, you're talking about the the northwest corner of Scott and Hahn?
It is on Scott and Hahn. I don't know my directions from down here,
The
but
city
that,
hasn't procured any property from the developer whatsoever, so we are somewhat at a loss to what you're talking about. But nonetheless, thank you very much for your comment, appreciate it. Public, do we have additional public commenters?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, please proceed.
Grant Yoders.
Good evening, City Council. Grant Yoders, Community of Sun City. I come before you to inquire about the status of the Sun City signage on I-215 and the monument sign identifying our Sun City community. Myself and others have addressed these issues at previous meetings, the most recent in July, when the interim city manager stated that it would have to wait until the new fiscal year. Well, we are 1 month into the new year and no feedback. 3.5 months should have been enough time to do the legwork and be ready to move on. You will probably use the excuse of funding. You can spend thousands of dollars to replace perfectly good illuminated street signs in Sun City with the brown ones with the city's logo for branding purposes and spend about $13,000 for the city's birthday bash, the figures I tabulated from the warrant register, but not move forward on this request. Another example of how the seniors in Sun City are a forgotten element in our new city. Next item, the position of city manager. I have in my hand the agreement for employment of Mr. Johnson as interim city manager. There is no definitive expiration on this contract other than a performance evaluation to be held prior to 31 December, which he has already had. And I'm sure since then there has been backroom discussions regarding his permanent appointment. But irregardless of what I'm sure was a glowing evaluation, 0 years as a city manager and 10 months of on-the-job training does not fully meet the qualifications of a bona fide city manager. I have in my hand an email from one of the council members at the initial time of this interim appointment when residents were questioning this action. I will read to you some of the excerpts from this email. Quote, I believe the council and the contract has been somewhat misinterpreted. Mr. Johnson was not considered as a permanent city manager. The contract does not assure Mr. Johnson the city manager's job. Even Mr. Johnson's title of interim city manager is severely circumscribed. He is in effect the interim director of operations only. End of quote. In that position, he has been excellent. He has changed the complexion of City Hall and molded together a cohesive staff. Having said all of this, it is my opinion that an RFP should go out to fill this position and the city go through the vetting process. What we need is an individual with multiple years of experience, a growing resume full of accomplishments, a yearn for a challenge, and fresh eyes to move our young city forward. What we don't need is someone who worked in the shadow of George Wentz and Bill Rawlings, both of whom were fired.
Mr. Johnson, could you or have staff address the issue of the signage? Because I think we've answered this question maybe a dozen times since Mr. August brought it up as an action item.
Absolutely. We have applied to Caltrans. We're waiting on an encroachment permit, and I can pass it over to Jonathan to see, but I don't believe we ever stated we'd wait for a new fiscal year. We moved on that right away. There's a timeline and a process. We're going through that process and that application. If you have any additional information, Mr. Smith, I'd appreciate it.
That's correct, Mr. City Manager. We are pressing on the process with Caltrans twofold, and it has nothing to do about waiting. It's about getting through the process at Caltrans, and my team is on it. It's number 1 priority, and I hope to have some additional information to share with council and the public at our next meeting.
Thank you. Well, I know that, Mr. Johnson, sorry, you have your light on.
Yeah, yes, sir, just a rejoinder on that. We can put up any signs we want in the city limits and within our encroachment powers and our right-of-way, which doesn't have to do anything with Caltrans. We have to go through a process with that. It's quite lengthy. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of approvals. There's a lot of disapprovals. There's a lot of arguing. And there's a lot of pursuit on our behalf to make sure that we get what we want. And we heard from the residents, and we're attempting to do exactly what they asked for.
I know you have it for action, but I also happen to know, since I sit on RCTC and I sit with the near the Caltrans District 8 guy, there's not going to be any new signage going up on the 215 until the 215 central phase is nearing completion. So, and they're not going to put it up and then take it down and then put it back up again. So I know there are those considerations. I know the staff and Caltrans has said that they'll get this done, and I don't see this as a challenge going forward. Mr. Edgerton?
Yeah, just want to make a comment that sitting on the council, I know our city manager right now has tremendous support from this council. It's a 5-0, and we like what he's doing.
Here. Thank you very kindly. On to the next speaker, please.
Don Winkelbauer? Did I get close? Good job.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your time. We have a real problem in our neighborhood, which is less than a half a mile from here. It's Rustler's Ranch. And people, where we live on Camino Dolores, which is all residential. And people are flying up and down that road 40, 50 miles an hour. I've walked out in front of, I don't know how many already, just to get them to slow down. And we're fighting to get speed limit signs put up there, a 4-way stop sign put up, and if possible, speed bumps. Their neighbors, we talked to Sergeant Strange from Menifee Police Department, and he told us to get a petition signed. Well, we have a petition with 44 people so far in the neighborhood. They're signing, they won't even let their kids out in their front yards because people are flying up and down the street, which I always was told residential is a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. But they're just flying up and down there like there's no tomorrow. They're running the stop sign. We have one stop sign there that's running east and west, but we're trying to get a 4-way stop put in there. We'd love to, and we'd love to get them speed limit signs put up. And if all possible, speed bumps put up, because they just won't slow down no matter what we do.
Last Saturday, I had a garage sale at my house. I live on the corner of Park and Camino Dolores. 2 cars that live on the corner of Camino Dolores raced side by side coming up Camino Dolores, turned left on to Park Avenue, going down towards Casey's liquor store, side by side all the way, and then they went to the liquor store. I know where the house is, where they live. My son's 18 now, but she has 2 little kids. I mean, it's just ridiculous that we can't even walk around our neighborhood without having to worry about being run across, run over in the road. I mean,
Okay.
we need more patrol, we need something to go on, I mean, it's getting as bad as Lazy Creek, and I know people that live in Lazy Creek are not happy with it either.
Okay, thank you.
I've sat in my kitchen, and I've seen at least.
Can you come to the mic so that we can get you recorded?
I've sat in my kitchen, and I've seen at least 10 people in the morning run the stop sign. It's awful. And I'm so afraid to let my kids go out and play in the front yard, because they want to, but I can't. I just want something done. I want a 4-way stop sign. I mean, I'm just waiting for an accident to happen, and I don't want that. I want something done so we don't have to worry about this, and I can let my kids go out and play.
We've already had 5 accidents at that intersection. My friend Melissa was in one of them, lives behind me, and she was T-boned at that intersection.
50% of the people run that stop sign. I mean, they don't go, they fly through it, sometimes 30, 40
Folks.
miles an hour. They
All
don't
right.
even slow down for it.
That's your
Thank
time,
you.
but if you ladies could drop by with your names, I do need them for the record.
Okay.
Okay?
And Mr. August, did you have a question?
Not a question, I just want to make a comment. Talk to Mr. Smith about some of the problems we have over in District 1. Number 1 comment by far. And believe it or not, with speed conditions, traffic and speed, stop signs, stoplights, can't get enough of them over there. We probably won't be able to get them. But my point is, that is the one question I can never quite get an answer to within my own mind or within the city. How do you slow the traffic down here? And our mayor has spoken at several homeowners association. It comes up, and he always points out to the people that we're a little bit understaffed as far as traffic enforcement goes with police officers and so on and so forth. So if somebody can come up with a solution on this or give us some good ideas on how to slow this traffic down. Speed bumps don't always work because of public health and safety, and where I live, the fire departments, they said, hey, we're not going to get you home in time if we have to keep going over speed bumps or dimps or things like that. But that is not an uncommon problem to this city, and I'm very sympathetic to you, and I'm sure everybody is up here. And Jonathan, we've talked about getting the people together to explain the city's position. Maybe you'd like to say a word on that to these people. Yeah.
Let's, before we do that, let's, Mr.
Well,
Furman.
I was going to have Jonathan explain the speed bump
Okay.
thing, just like Greg. If you give a little thing on the speed bump problem.
And before we do that, Mr. Johnson, you had your button on first.
That's exactly what I was going to talk about, and throw it to Jonathan for talk about some
So we
traffic
went from
calming measures that we can.
Councilmember August to Councilmember Furman to the city manager. It's up to you. Please reply.
Well, and I think too, you can meet with them maybe after you have a couple public comments and talk about their situation, go out and visit the site. That's really where it starts. It doesn't really start with the police department. They're there to enforce the code and laws and the traffic and the speed limits, but really it's Public Works and it's our city engineer that designs traffic calming measures. So you're in good hands, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much. As everyone knows, we have a new assistant director that started a couple weeks ago. He happens to be a traffic engineer as well. The Public Works Department has done a speed survey of the entire city. Now that I have a traffic engineer on board, we'll be bringing that forward with the policymakers and decision makers to review. Speed humps or speed bumps, there is a difference, and we are looking at options for improving safety from speeders and other traffic issues throughout the city. And I will, after here, I'd like to get with you in the lobby, get your name and number, so I can come out with our new traffic engineer and take a look at the area and see if we can come up with some ideas for the interim while we take a look at the whole city and come up with some additional solutions.
I got a good idea. Let me shoot the tires out.
Deputy Mayor Edgerton.
Just a question of the city attorney. From my recollection, dealing with some of this, the lady said there were been 5 accidents at that intersection. And it's my understanding that a subsequent plaintiff in an accident at that same intersection would be able to utilize those statistics and increase the liability of the city. Is that a fairly
Well,
accurate?
Essentially, you've been put on notice that there seems to be a problem there. So at this point, you need to take some action to evaluate that.
Excellent. Councilmember August.
Something just came to my mind. I recall not too long ago in this meeting that Mr. Denver is going to be playing Santa Claus again this year, and maybe we can all go and sit on his lap and ask for a stop sign or a signal light, and I think he'd be willing to do that.
Well, thank you, sir, very much for bringing it to our attention. We will respond, and we thank you very kindly.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
for your time.
It's a matter of, go ahead, Mr. Furman.
Just one comment I'd like to make is that it's easier to get a stop sign up than it is to ever get one removed. So just a comment.
All right, very good. On to the next public speaker, please.
Yes, sir. Lynn Klein.
Good evening.
Good evening. One of the concerns that I have is I live in the Marigold housing tract in Menifee, and we have an HOA fee. And I've lived there since September of 2008. And since September 2008, it's my husband who has to keep the common areas as far as grass and trash and things like that mowed. And the HOA does not provide any of the services except for the fact that they do bill us every month $120. And if you don't pay it, I know there's houses that have liens placed on their homes. And it just doesn't seem fair that on one end, the developer is supported as far as what happens when you don't pay your HOA fee. But on the other end, there is no services, absolutely no services. And I would love if somebody could address that. The only comment that I've heard is that we can hire an attorney. And there's a contract when you buy the home and you get an HOA. We're doing our part. I don't see why we would have to hire an attorney that the other developer has to do their part. So if that could be addressed, I'd love it.
Ms. Klein, before, city manager.
Yes, if you could, and hi, I have to disclose that I do know you. Ms. Klein used to teach with my wife. Is this east of Leon, or is it west of Leon? Are you inside the city limits? Is it outside the city limits? Or you have a Menifee address, but I think you're kind of in no person's land out there in Menifee unincorporated, but I'm not sure.
According to the signs that's posted on Scott, we are in Menifee.
So are you east of Leon or west of Leon off Scott?
Okay.
You're west of Leon?
Yes.
Okay, that's all we need to know. We can do a little bit of research to help you out, but typically an HOA dispute between a homeowner and an HOA, there's not much the city can do to get involved, but we can look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Lisa Sobek.
Nothing.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, community. I'm here tonight as the Menifee Interfaith and Community Service Council Chair. Yesterday we had a good interfaith meeting here in the city, and a lot of good things were happening, and I thought I'd just take a moment and share them. And first of all, I need to thank Councilmember Denver for attending that and helping the communication between the interfaith and letting us know what's going on too in the city. First of all, the Interfaith Council had its second annual Fall Food Festival gathering, I guess you could say. We partnered with the Menifee Cupboard, and we were out at Ralph's on Halloween, and the Cupboard collected over 900 pounds of food to kick off the Thanksgiving season. Plus, there were residents going around trick-or-treating for canned food, for our non-perishable food items for the Cupboard. This has been such a tremendous experience and positive experience that they want to continue this each year. So we're hoping more people get on board and trick-or-treat and collect canned food for the Cupboard. Miller Jones gave us a report yesterday that twice a year they do a flag burning at Miller Jones. The second one, they do the first one on Flag Day. The second one will be on Veterans Day, Monday. So if anybody has an old flag and they don't know how to get rid of it, they do a little ceremony. It'll be at 10 a.m. I attended it. It was wonderful on Flag Day. It was just a great little patriotic experience. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is feeding the homeless this Sunday at 10 a.m. And it's their first time doing it. And so if anyone knows of a homeless person and would like a pre-Thanksgiving meal, they're going to do that at 10 o'clock. Hope Christian Church, November 23rd, will be at the Case and Acero Center serving seniors at 3 different times a Thanksgiving meal. St. Vincent's is having a interfaith Thanksgiving service on Monday night, November 25th at 7 p.m., and the entrance fee is a non-perishable food item. December 6th through 8th, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is having its 12th annual Nativity Festival and concerts, and that's open to the public. They are looking for people who, they're doing an orchestra this year, if anybody does strings, brass, or percussions. Miller Jones, again, starts a coat drive that they donate new used coats to the Domestic Women's Violence Shelter starting around Thanksgiving. And Hospice of the Valley is nonprofit, and my time's up. And the Menifee Cupboard is doing a backpack program with, you mentioned the Santa's Workshop out in the Quail Valley. We were told yesterday that 95% of their children qualify for free lunch. And they're starting a backpack program out there. So if you want more on that, just ask me. Thank you.
Thank you. Good work's going on everywhere. Next speaker, please.
Mr. Benjamin Adams.
I don't know.
Madam Clerk, did you want me to do this now or at 11.1
I
on the
was so
agenda?
excited that you were coming
I'm
to speak
sorry.
that I just looked down and realized you're on 11.1. How about we have you speak then?
That'd be great.
Thank you. Do we have any other public commenters, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
All right, very good. On to council member updates and comments, and Councilmember Furman, you're up first.
I would like to thank the city staff and everybody that volunteered for the cleanup on Saturday. Even my own pastor was out there helping. And we kind of had a little contest, I think, between Mr. Johnson and his crew and my crew. And I think I beat him in the couch and mattress division with 11. And I would like to just remind everybody that, you find these couches and mattresses deposited under trees and on back roads, and sometimes they're just dumped in people's driveways. The Waste Management picks up 10 free articles, is all you got to do is call them. Okay, you don't have to deposit this stuff out in the wilderness for Rob and I to pick up every year. Okay, just pass the word to everybody. Okay, we all must have trash, but a telephone call gets rid of your heavy stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember August?
Just a quick note, not an update or anything like that. I see we have a rather large group of people here today with people sitting in the lobby out there. Tonight when I came to the meeting, I wasn't expecting, got 2 agenda items. I wasn't expecting to be here a long time. I do want to let you know at the last Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission stayed here until 11:15 that night. It was 4 hours and 15 minutes discussing the general plan, land use element, circulation, and the housing element. A lot of people turned out for that, a lot more people than are here tonight. And this Planning Commission is going to have one more meeting next Wednesday night, make the recommendations and send it to the council. And the reason why I mention that, the next council meeting we have after tonight, you can expect the councilmen probably to be bringing their sleeping bags and staying here for a long time as well. It's we're going to get the general plan out of the way. The Planning Commission's doing their job, and hopefully the council will take it as serious as the Planning Commission. I know they will. So we'll be doing our work probably for the next couple of meetings and things like that. So I think Mr. Johnson has put out an issue that we might need a bigger building for all the people that come, since the general plan does involve quite a bit of people and some very emotional issues.
Thank you, Mr. August. There are, if you would like to sit in the main City Hall chamber, there's about 7 or 8 seats up here for those who are in the foyer. Councilmember Denver?
There's so many good things going on in Menifee. It's very hard to describe them all. Around Halloween, and I wish I had $1 for every event that's happened here in the last couple of weeks. The one I'd like to tell you about, I suspect I'm taking away from the mayor, but oh well. The mayor had a breakfast at the hospital on October 31st. The Rotary Club, actually what it was is the Rotary Club postponed its meeting until that morning, or changed it to the morning, and had the mayor speak. It was well attended. The mayor unusually was well spoken and had lots of good things to say, told all about the commercial in our town, and I'd like to compliment the mayor for the Rotary Club and for the citizens.
Thank you, John. Deputy Mayor Edgerton?
Yeah, just had a briefing today regarding the Riverside Transit Authority, and most of you don't take the bus, but we have a lot of people in this community, particularly seniors, who need a bus or a dial-a-ride or whatever. And they're upgrading their facilities. This Riverside Transit Authority is, I believe, the second largest in the U.S. It's a very large facility when you look at Riverside County. And all of you have been to an airport. You know how it is when you look at the board. You see arrivals, you see departures, and if it's late, they'll tell you how late it's going to be, etc. And your bus facilities are going to be able to provide the same thing very quickly. We don't have any terminals here. They'll be at the terminal. However, they're fixing it so you can just grab out your iPod, click it in, and it'll tell you where the bus is coming from and whether it's on time or whether it is not on time. And if it is late, that particular bus will be synchronized with particular signals so that the green lights will last longer, the red lights will last shorter, to be able to pick up speed just like airliners do and see if they can get that late bus here on time. So good things are coming for us older folks. It's computerized and we don't understand it, but good things are coming.
Are city council going to be able to have that where we can change the lights if we, maybe not, I don't know.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edgerton. As Councilmember Denver mentioned, I did attend the Rotary Club breakfast, and I had the opportunity to update the club on the happenings of the city from a commercial development standpoint, because it's really all about good news, and there's one of those on the agenda tonight. I too participated to a limited extent for the community cleanup. I didn't go out there with any truck like Tom and Mr. Johnson did to get tires and mattresses, but I was out there, and I also participated the same day. Last Saturday was a busy day. Menifee's community cleanup. I attended the healthcare fair at the hospital, and then later on that night, I attended a fundraiser for the Valley-wide Park and Rec Foundation for their annual fundraiser for the things that they do out there. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to escort our Congressman Ken Calvert around Menifee, specifically up in the northeast part of in the Romaland area. Gave him a tour of the Line A project, as well as the Highway 74 realignment along Ethonac. And we also did a tour of a Menifee business called Datatronics, which employs about 200 people here in the city of Menifee. And one disappointing aspect of that visit is that I found out during that time from the management team that they had just brought in another business unit from Orange County, and instead of putting it in Menifee, they put it in Paris. So we didn't have a chance to weigh in on that. I asked them, I tried to get them to change their mind, but they already built a building. So we're going to have to be a little bit more aggressive about those types of things. Not that we're not, but we need to get out there and engage those folks. And just as a reminder, there's been a lot of information published tonight from speakers and the council and the staff, but don't forget that this coming Monday is Veterans Day, and we'll have I'm sure the city manager probably has something to say about this in the manager report later on, but Veterans Day is Monday, and we have a ceremony over at the memorial at 11 o'clock on Monday at Wheatfield Park in Deputy Mayor Edgerton's district. Okay. Onward and upward. Is there any other council member updates or comments? Very well. On to the consent calendar. Are there any changes to the consent calendar? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move it.
May I have a second? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edgerton. Aye. Councilmember Furman.
Aye.
Councilmember Denver. Aye. Deputy Mayor Edgerton. Aye. Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
On to our public hearings for this evening. Agenda item 11.1, Commerce Point Development Agreement. Conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution, introduce an ordinance. And do we have a staff report?
Yes, Your Honor, we do, and I will let you know that the item was legally published and noticed, and there's been no further correspondence received.
And what I'd like to do is, I know we have a speaker on this, but
Yes, sir.
we'll take it during public hearing.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
And Councilmember August, unless you have something
I don't. I
dramatic to add,
I just want to make sure that the last vote was legal because I was left out, so.
Oh, did we not have, could we record Councilmember August's vote on the consent calendar?
Yes. You asked Mr. Edgerton twice.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
Excuse me, is the way it's supposed to work.
Councilmember August,
Aye.
how would you like to vote on that?
I
Thanks,
would-
Bunch.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and sorry about that. On to our staff report for the Commerce Point Development Agreement. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, we had a slight technical difficulty there. I want to make sure that we had, do you have a clicker? You want to work it for me? Sorry about while we wait. The item before you is Commerce Point. It is a development agreement number 2002-116. Our first commercial light industrial opportunity within the city. The project location is south of Scott Road and east of Ziders between 215 and Ziders Road, which will be completed through the project.
Is that the slippers you're talking about?
The development agreement that's before you tonight is a proposal for the city of Menifee to enter into an agreement with Ziders Road Business Park Incorporated and Commerce Point 2 Menifee Incorporated, project owners of Commerce Point 1 and 2, with a term of 10 years. The agreement is intended to eliminate uncertainty in the city's land use planning process, secure an orderly development of Commerce Point 1 and 2, which is the project, assure progressive installation of necessary improvements and mitigation appropriate to each stage of development of Commerce Point 1 and 2, secure secondary access for Bailey Park Road property owners in preparation of the Scott Road I-215 interchange project. The Planning Commission heard the case on October 8th, and the development agreement was presented to them. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the development agreement with a slight modification to the parcel map, and I'll hand it over to Jonathan Smith for just a note on that so you're understanding what the slight modification of the parcel map was.
The modification was a note that was on the map that referred to the maintenance of the mitigation area being by the Property Owners Association. We just switched that language to reflect that it will be maintained by the city and paid for by the applicant or by the property owner.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Background to the development agreement, plot plans number 21452, 22280, and 209-006 were approved on April 7th, 2009 by the City Council for the Commerce Point 1 and 2 projects for the construction and operation of a total building area of 827,777 square feet in 51 buildings on 50.88 total acres. Pursuant to the conditions of the approval and the EIR, certain on-site and off-site road and intersection improvements and habitat conservation are required for the Commerce Point project. These specifically include improvements to Ziders Road and Chakotay Street. Due to market conditions, development of Commerce Point and the required improvements have not yet occurred. The proposed development agreement is primarily driven by the proposed interchange improvements for the I-215 and Scott Road. The timing of the interchange improvements are currently anticipated to commence July 2015. That is funding permitting. The planned interchange improvements would eliminate the current legal access for properties on Bailey Park Boulevard directly onto Scott Road. Commerce Point's improvements to Chakotay Street and Ziders Road would provide alternate access to the properties on Bailey Park Boulevard to allow the interchange improvements to occur. The development agreement would not alter the conditions of the Commerce Point plot plans. The development agreement would allow for the completion of the Commerce Point project over time as the market returns, but guarantee the early delivery of the critical regional transportation improvements as well as other public benefits. The development agreement would obligate the owners of Commerce Point 1 and 2 to commence construction of Phase 1 of Ziders Road upon the earlier of 180 days after the permit is issued for mass grading of the project, or July 1, 2015. Fully complete Ziders Road prior to the issuance of the first occupancy permit for the project. Commence construction of Phase 1 of Chakotay Street upon earlier of 180 days after the permit is issued for mass grading of the project, or July 1, 2015, and full construction of Chakotay Street prior to the issuance of the first occupancy permit for the project. The development agreement would obligate the city to accept dedication of a 1.97 acre conservation easement if long-term funding is established for the maintenance of the conservation easement, use its best efforts to obtain approval to permit the use of TUMP for the proposed improvements to the Ziders Road and Chakotay Street, such that the project owner's cost for the delivery of the improvements is credited against the project owner's obligation to pay the applicable TUMP for the project, and process and approve minor modifications to the project, such as adjusting the building footprint as administrative approvals to accommodate changing market conditions and engineering requirements as the project progresses. This is a aerial view of where Chakotay Street would be built and paved, and the condition for Ziders Road and the length of the paving for the project, and the X marks the spot where the Bailey Park street would be disconnected because of the Scott Road interchange elevation is too high to connect the road. The recommendation tonight is following the Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt resolution number 13-344, finding that no additional environmental review is required based upon findings and conclusions incorporated in the staff report. Introduce ordinance number 2013-133, approving development agreement number 2012-116 based upon the findings of the conclusions incorporated in the staff report. Schedule ordinance number 2013-133, approving development agreement number 2012-116 for adoption on November 20th, 2013. This concludes the staff report portion of the item, and the developer is in the council chambers tonight to either make a presentation or answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the council of staff at this point?
Will we have questions after the speakers?
Quite possibly, but do you have anything of staff right now?
No.
Okay. Mr. August?
I just wanted to clarify one point, kind of trying to be a little bit funny, but it's possible that the $9 million that Ms. Manier was speaking of tonight has to do with maintenance of the conservation area?
No way.
Absolutely not.
Well, that was one of my questions. Could we, I mean, I want to be very, very clear about that question from a public speaker, because it was a wild allegation that was made. Is there anything in this development agreement that suggests that the city acquired any property, multi-million-dollar acquisition, or in any other way?
Absolutely not. The property is owned by the developer.
Thank you very kindly. I would like that.
Purchased and owned by the developer.
Thank you. Private party, not city-owned, and so I have no idea where that particular question or may have come up from, so.
You want maybe an additional clarification on that?
Yeah, please. This is questions of staff. Questions of staff.
Was there a sliver of land bought for the widening of the 215 road? There's a sliver of land.
If there was, it wouldn't be city-owned. It would be Caltrans owned and operated. We wouldn't have purchased that, and we don't own any of that property.
The 9.9 that was spent for 14 acres, I read that somewhere. Where's that 14 acres that was bought for 9.9?
I'm a little bit at a loss. I don't know what we're talking about. Jonathan, can you shed any light on that?
I believe I can. There was some information a few weeks ago in a local newspaper referring to the Scott Road interchange and the right-of-way that was required for the interchange. This project does not have any of the right-of-way that we are purchasing. But it's correct, there's about $9 million of right-of-way that we are purchasing for the interchange, but not from this property owner.
Well, let's be very clear of who the "we" is. It's not the city of Menifee. It's the Riverside County Transportation Commission, or WRCOG, or the County Transportation Department that's acquiring several acres of right-of-way to improve the Scott Road interchange. Has nothing to do with the city spending general fund dollars.
That's correct.
All right, thank you
Do
very
we
much.
know the landowner that we bought from?
Again, we did not, the city did not acquire property in regards to the comment that Ms. Manier made.
Just a couple of technical questions for the city clerk. Maybe it's, well, it looks like I'm going to be asking for two motions when we get to that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is a why is the development agreement labeled 2012-116?
Likely that is when it began in the planning department, and they assign the number to it as the process begins.
So it's sequential in that
It's just a sequential number,
All right,
correct.
thank you kindly.
This has been a very long, friendly negotiation between two parties in which the developer is bringing a much-needed, anticipated project to the city, and it took a while for us to make sure that we had all the pieces and components together. So I believe it did start in 2012, and we're here tonight.
10, 11, 12, looks like over 4.5 years since the original council approved it in April of 2009. So Wow, okay, well, we're
This-
here.
This might be a question for Steph.
Mr. Furman.
I think there's going to be a new lighting and maintenance district. Am I correct in that assumption, that there's going to be a new lighting and district that's going to be added to the, what is it, 89.1 that Riverside maintains for us? Is that accurate?
When the improvements are completed, there will be either a new LNLMD or annexed into an existing LNLMD to handle, yes, the expenses of this area.
What I may want to suggest that we start keeping that money in Menifee and not sending it to Riverside, and maybe doing that maintenance here in the city. That would be, I think, last year we gave $854,000 to the city of Riverside to maintain the lights and landscaping. I think we should start thinking about keeping that money here and doing this maintenance and lighting stuff ourselves.
Point well taken.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the council of staff on the development agreement? Hearing none, I will open the public hearing at time 8:19. Madam Clerk, could you please verify that it was properly noticed?
Yes, sir, and I have no further correspondence for you.
All right, thank you kindly. Then we will take the first public testimony on this agenda item.
That would be the applicant, sir, and it's Casson Klein representing them.
Mr. Klein.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, staff. Casson Klein on behalf of PAC-10 Partners representing, and I just want to introduce my team and my client, Mr. Dennis Fitzpatrick, managing partner of PAC-10 Partners, Mr. Brian Leroy, our counsel from Manat, Phillips & Phelps, and Mr. Peter Aylward and his lovely wife Ann from Strategic Property Advisors. He is the investment manager on behalf of the owner. We concur with the staff report. There are really no conditions of approval. I'm here to clarify any questions or comments that might come up. I would just like to ask, or I'd just like to add on to City Manager Johnson's comment that this certainly has been a long and friendly, and I would just like to note that it was expedited most recently with Mr. Johnson taking the interim role, and with the addition of Sean Nelson and with your new city engineer, and we're very appreciative of that and very pleased to be here tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Council, are there any questions of Mr. Klein? Thank you. We may reserve the right to call you back for additional questioning.
Thank you, sir.
We have another public speaker on this, I believe.
Yes, we'll try this
Mr.
time. Mr. Ben Adams.
Mayor, man, council, staff, fellow citizens, and distinguished guests. I see a growing pain happen with this development, and it's not a great concern. It's just something that we can address as we move forward with the planning process. And the general plan that we're about ready to approve actually allows for a pretty decent transit corridor down to this development. But when RTA actually has money and time and resources to provide that, and the timing of this development as it fleshes out, hopefully we can keep the conversation going so that works well. There's bike lanes that'll get really close. I don't know if there's provision for that on Ziders and Sakati, but at least you can get to Keller Road and across underneath the freeway, however that's eventually will work out. But my other concern is just, and I continued to share the passion with former council member Kinsey, and making sure that we have a 215 corridor that aesthetically communicates that we're a unique community. This is a place that if you don't live here yet, you should. And certainly you want to come and spend lots of money here to this commercial development. So, as we look at the footprint of these buildings and the elevations that are going to face the freeway, I think they're just as important as the elevations that face the streets and the front of the properties. And I would assume most of these are probably going to be tilt-ups, which are cheap and easy to build. And I don't have a problem with those necessarily, but there are ways that we can aesthetically address them. So it clearly communicates that this is a great, wonderful, vibrant community that you want to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. We want people to come and spend bundles of money here. Do we have additional speakers?
Yes, we have Bonnie Brown.
Hello.
Evening.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my comments on this project. It looks like a wonderful project. Sakati Street comes into Bailey Park Boulevard at the end of Bailey Park Boulevard, and it comes into dirt. My home and business is on Scott Road and the 215 off of Bonnie's Way on the 215 side. So coming in off of Scott Road, I'm on asphalt all the way to the property. So my concern is taking me off of asphalt and putting me on dirt. And so that would just be my concern. They're blocking off, which is, I think, is a great idea. That's the most
Can staff
dangerous
address the
thing.
concern?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We do have a working CIP program now where things like this, as we move along, will be added into that CIP so that we can take care of this issue. And you should see most likely Bailey Park Boulevard move up on the scale of when it needs to be paved.
And we're going to begin addressing those priorities in January when we do a strategic planning session to address future CIP initiatives. So whether Bailey Park makes that cut, makes that round or not will remain to be seen, but there are so many competing requirements throughout the city for those dollars, but we hear you.
Gotcha.
And I'm not making a decision now. I'm just sharing with you that.
Of course,
that
and I'm just sharing with you that
there's a process, and that there's a process that we go through to address those.
Yes.
Okay.
And yes, so because I've got a spa, the dream is a 3-acre spa right there. So, and Glen Ivy used to go on dirt too, so,
Councilmember Furman.
don't go on dirt anymore.
This might be for casting. I think Takati is just a temporary road when it's first going to be put in. Could you address that issue?
Yes, sir, Councilman
I think
Furman. The phase one, as it's outlined in the development agreement, calls for on Ziders Road paved and all-weather access on Sakati. So she will have an all-weather access, or the residents, the community, will have all-weather access on Sakati and Ziders Road. It's not clear to me if Bonnie was talking about Bailey Park.
Yeah, what I was saying, I think it's planned to be torn out and redid at a later time.
Which road?
Sakati.
Well, Sakati doesn't exist right now.
I know.
Right.
You're
So
going to
the
pave it. You're just going to pave it 2 lanes
the-
with no sidewalks and berms, right?
The interim I believe, calls for all-weather access, and so it'll be some form of all-weather access. The interim, and then prior to our first building permit, it'll be ultimate curb, gutter, sidewalk. I believe it calls for 2 lanes on Sakati, and then actually at build out, because of Commerce Point 2, we have frontage along Bailey Park. We will do our half width, I believe, plus 12 on Bailey Park. That's down the road.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then, Mr. Mayor, if I may just go ahead and address Mr. Adams' comments. It should be noted that the plot plans were already approved, and along with the elevations and architecture and those things. So, which a process we went through for many, many years. Just to give you folks some background, we purchased this land in 2005 and went through the process at the county, submitting plot plans and going through architecture and all of those things. So those renderings are here at the city for Mr. Adams or for the public to view. Also, Ziders Road street plans are approved, and the Mylars are here at the city, and it does call for a multi-purpose trail that we are building along our frontage. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the width. You'll have to forgive me. It's been many years. But there is a multi-purpose trail along Ziders Road. So hopefully that addresses the public comments, and I'm here to answer any questions that you folks might have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Denver, you had your button pushed for a little bit. Did Mr. Furman ask your question?
Yeah, but I just wanted to say, I'm sure it's, I'm positive that this is affirmatively answered. But we have looked into Bailey Parkway, and it's not practical to make that touch Scott Road, right? It just isn't going to work. And
It's the elevation of the new interchange in the landing zone area. It's going to be highly elevated above Bailey Park.
I understand.
Mr. Furman?
Bailey Park will have an entrance into that shopping center. I know it does now. Will that continue?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Madam Clerk, do we have additional speakers?
No, sir.
Very well. Excuse me. Council, are there any additional questions of the developer, of the applicant?
Questions of the developer, no.
Yeah. Very good.
Darn.
Then, hearing no other, does anybody else wish to speak on this matter? Yes, sir. Well, you need to come to the microphone. State your name, sir, for the record, and fire away. Ask away. Exercise your constitutional right.
Mayor Mann, council, and public. My name's Alex Gonzalez. I have a property down the street on Ziders on the corner of Annie Lou Circle and Ziders. It's the northeast side. It's hard to tell. I'm just wondering how close Ziders is going to be improved with Annie Lou Circle, if it's going to be even left as a street there.
Can staff address that question? Mr. Johnson?
Absolutely, Mayor, members of council. The development agreement concerning this property and this development only requires the developer to do Ziders Road full-length improvements to the end of their property itself. Ziders Road at some point will be fully down to Keller Road.
Eventually. When it says 2 lanes, that's 2 in each direction?
1 lane in each direction.
Because I signed one of their representatives asked me to deed back 30 feet of my frontage because it was going to be 2 lanes each
Ultimate widening, I believe, is 2 lanes all the way through our circulation element that's coming up in the general plan.
So it will be ultimately 2 and 2. Okay. So right now it's only temporary.
Correct.
Okay. So how close? I guess we'd have to look at the map to see how close.
We can help you with that after if you'd like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whenever you're ready.
Did that answer your
Well,
basic
once I see the
questions?
map, because
Do you
I
have any
believe
other-
they own
do you
the
have any other
property right up
questions?
to my property.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to develop that yet, then I don't know what's going to happen down the future as far as timeframes.
We'll let the city engineer and you talk sidebar on that.
Sure.
And specifically to address that question.
Okay.
Do we have any other public speakers? Anybody else would like to speak? Yes. Come back, Bonnie, to the mic.
Sorry, thank you. I'm still not sure I got my question answered. Okay, so at some point, Sakati Street is going to be paved all weather or whatever to the end of Bailey Park Boulevard, which is dirt. Okay, so then at some point, which I think is a great idea, they're going to cut off Bailey Park Boulevard from Scott Road. Okay, at that point, I've been coming in on concrete, on asphalt, all the way to the business, all the way to the home, all the way to the back of the property. I'm now going to be coming in off of Sakati onto Bailey Park on dirt. Or is it not going to be dirt once Bailey Park is blocked off?
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Brown. We do have a CIP program. We are adding Bailey Park Boulevard to that CIP program.
Right.
You're talking about probably 18 months at least out.
Yeah, which is fine.
From when Chicotee Road would be fully done and Ziders would be fully done and the interchange would even begin.
Okay.
So once the interchange construction and the landing zone actually begins and that's closed, the goal would be that we would have everything we need to get ready to have Bailey Park actually paved. Does that answer
Well,
your question?
It sounds like I'm going to
It's a timing issue.
Right.
It's a timing and a funding issue, really.
So I may be coming in on dirt for a while.
Right. Well, it could
Or
be days,
not at
weeks,
all.
months, or not at all.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Furman?
I don't know, maybe for clarification, Bailey Park, I think, will run up to the shopping center entrance and then stop?
Correct. It will
Just where
have an
the
entrance.
X is going to be blocked off.
So
You
if
would
you want-
actually be able to go through that shopping center and get onto Bailey Park, I think. I mean, I drove that. There's an entrance into the shopping center there to get you on Bailey Park. That still will be maintained?
That would continue to be paved as it is to
Okay,
this day.
there you go.
That'd be a lot. There's a lot of my neighbors have a lot of heavy equipment.
Okay.
I believe that would, the shopping center would
All right.
like all that stuff.
Yeah, thank you. We can't take testimony from the bleacher seats, but from the mic, but do we have additional speakers?
No, sir.
On this matter? Okay, very well. I'm going to close the public hearing at time 8:33, and at this juncture, it's a discussion amongst the council and additional questions from staff. Mr. Denver, you were up first.
Thank you. One, I want to compliment the Commerce Point people for all this work. I can't remember when this wasn't in plans. It seems like forever. If everybody realizes the people who spoke today about home-based businesses and the problems that some home-based businesses have, we go and talk to these people and we say, we want you to move into a place that makes more sense, that's properly zoned. And they unfortunately correctly say, and where do you want us to go? And the answer is Murrieta. I don't know. The other thing is that I spend my time with realtors in Menifee as well as other places, and one particular company in Menifee who does commercial leasing has sent 15 people who came into our town looking for spaces to open into Menifee into Murrieta after showing them vacant land in Menifee for them to buy and build on. They won't do it. They want a space to move into, and they end up moving into Murrieta. I welcome this Commerce Point 1 and 2. I wish them well. I hope it gets done quickly, and so we can do something about these problems with home-based businesses, as well as the numerous people who come to our town that right now don't have a place to move into.
Datatronics. Deputy Mayor Edgerton?
Yes, I had an opportunity to meet with a representative of PAC-10 back in 2009. I'm one of those people on the council that's very concerned about, well, we're all concerned about revenue. I'm very concerned about development and overdevelopment, but that's generally in high-density housing, because the primary concern I have, which is shared by everyone on city council, is how do we generate revenue? High-density housing is a drag. It costs us money. Housing which is upscale generates revenue, and commercial generates revenue. Of course, it depends upon what kind of commercial it is. This particular project, and as I said, I met with Kasem Klein back, I believe it was in 2009. This particular project has a lot of benefits. In that it'll generate revenue. It'll do more than that. I was watching the stock report today, and we hit a new high, historical high on the Dow. Thank you very much. But people were still questioning where are the jobs. That's nationally. So here we are in the little city of Menifee, and we are concerned about jobs. And here's a project that will not only provide revenue, it'll provide jobs. And traffic is a concern, but they are contributing to the infrastructure and certainly contributing a whole lot of money to TUMF, as I recall. So I'm very pleased to support this project. I can't see it being anything but a real benefit for the city of Menifee. And I would move to approve if we're at that point.
Okay, and, so we have a motion to adopt resolution for for a finding that no EIR is no additional EIR is necessary. May I have a second on that adoption of that resolution?
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a second. Councilmember August. Yes, you have the floor.
Floor. I just want to say I go ahead and approve. I agree with everything Mr. Edgerton and Mr. Denver said, and I would second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, and I just want to make an ex parte disclosure that as a member of the original council, I voted on this project. I wish that it didn't take so long to get us to this point, because we desperately need all of that 800,000 square feet of space for commercial development, and we need more of it. So I'm glad that we're here to this point tonight, and we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second, and we have Councilmember Furman would like to make a comment.
I believe I read somewhere where the Planning Commission had recommended some modifications. Did you follow up on that at all, or was it?
We answered that based on the map earlier. Jonathan made a statement to that effect.
Okay, all right, very good.
But did that answer your question, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. We have a motion on the floor, and we'll need a roll call vote on the adoption of the resolution.
Yes, sir. Councilmember August?
Aye.
Councilmember Furman?
Aye.
Councilmember Denver?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Edgerton?
Aye.
Mayor Mann?
And I'll entertain a motion to introduce the ordinance 2013-133, approving the development agreement number 2012-116. Roll call, please.
Councilmember August? Councilmember Furman?
Aye.
Councilmember Denver? Deputy Mayor Edgerton?
Aye.
Mayor Mann?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. Let's bring that business in here. Okay? Businesses. Multiple businesses. Thank you, gang. On to agenda item 12.1. Adopt resolution number 13-346, accepting the conveyance of the K. Ceniceros Community Center from the County of Riverside and its associated agreements to the City of Menifee. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Mr. Jeff Wyman, your Economic Development Director, has your staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have a very positive item in front of us, in front of you this evening. It's a short presentation on the K. Ceniceros Community and Senior Center conveyance from the county to the City of Menifee. The objectives of the item are several. One is to accept the conveyance of the Senior Center from the county to the City of Menifee. It will also help to provide local control of the facility and the center to meet the needs of the Menifee residents, and leverage and expand programs and services provided to the community. Here are some fun facility facts about the Senior Center. Quickly, the location is located at Newport and Evans Road. It was constructed in 1980. It consists of 2 separate parcels containing 3 separate buildings. There's a total of 14,500 square feet at the overall facility, including 83 parking spaces. The programs and services that are currently being offered and provided at the Senior Center, there's a variety of them, and they include adult daycare through the Connects daycare facility, which is the separate parcel on the site. There's senior lunch programs, exercise programs, enrichment classes, senior field trips, legal assistance services. It also operates as a cooling center during our warm summer months, and Arts Council Menifee programs are also offered, and there's many more programs that are offered at this facility. The agreements that are included in this item tonight, there's actually 2 quitclaim deeds that would convey the property from the county to the city, and there's 2 agreements. One is an operating agreement with the Riverside County through June 2015, and a letter agreement that is a side agreement for the separate smaller parcel that was funded through CDBG funds, and that restricts some of the uses that are on that site. some of the important provisions of the agreements. The operating agreement includes provisions that the county will continue to operate the senior center through June 30th, 2015, and the county will pay all operational costs through the fiscal year 2014, and then we will split, the city and the county will split the operating costs for fiscal year 2014 and 2015, estimated to be $157,360 each for that fiscal year. After that, the city will take full control over the center and pay all operational costs for the facility beginning in fiscal year 15-16. The second agreement is a letter agreement. As I noted, the smaller parcel, which is the Care Connects, it was actually purchased and rehabbed with CDBG funds, and so it's limited to uses that qualify for federal uses under the CDBG guidelines. And that said, if the city ever chose to want to use that facility at a later date beyond those type of restrictions, the city would just have to reimburse the CDBG funds at fair market value, and then the restrictions would be removed.
How is that in perpetuity, or is that have an expiration date on it?
It is in perpetuity, or as long as the county actually uses and is part of the CDBG program.
Mr. Johnson?
I believe it's 45 or 55-year covenant, but we'll check on that with Terry. But in all purposes, for us, it's pretty much in perpetuity.
And that concludes my presentation. I'm certainly available for any questions.
Mayor?
I'm just curious, and what are the restrictions?
The restrictions are that it has to be used for uses that qualify for CDBG federal uses. So there's particular guidelines that it has to be able to do. So the Care Connects that's currently in there does qualify for that.
Well, Mr. Johnson?
It's limited to 501c3 organizations that must utilize that facility, and it's based on the program guidelines of the CDBG. So if there's another 501c3 organization that would like to utilize that facility, it's allowed. It can't be sold. It can't be used for profit, basically.
Mr. Denver?
Two quick questions. I didn't recognize this 501c3 nature of that other building, but is it true that that is has a minor use? Very small number of people are in that secondary building. I mean, 5, that really small number.
I don't know the total number. We can certainly look into that and find that out. But it is a much smaller portion of the overall facility. So yes, it would be a smaller portion usage of the entire facility.
Second question is that I recognize and am totally recognize that we have a wonderful relationship with Riverside County, and that they will, during this period of time of the transition, they will listen to us and cooperate with us on usage. I know that. But is it technically, did I hear you say that technically what you've said is that at least until 2015, January 1, they run that program and determine technically what happens in the entire case in a Sarah Center? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, they are running the operations for that facility till that time.
Mr. Johnson?
Just want to make a qualifying statement, because did I hear you say that the city would not be able to add additional programming or modify what's currently being operated? And if I did hear you say that, the answer is actually no. The city could add programming. We will own the facility. The deal is a great deal. They're giving us this building, this 14,000 square feet, and they're going to operate the current programs in it at their cost for now. If we wanted to increase the programs or increase the or add different programs, that would be at the city's cost, not their cost. But we can do that. If you vote to accept this tonight, this is now a City of Menifee facility.
But you said, it was said, for instance, here's what we couldn't do, is fire everybody in there and start our own programs.
If you would agree to the agreement that's before you, Correct. You would not want to fire everybody and start your own programs, because we would have to have some revenue generated on our own to be able to pay for all of that. The beauty of what we've done here is ask the county to give us the facility, oh, and by the way, to pay for it for a year and a half, which gives us an opportunity to understand the programs that are in it, to get more in touch with the community and see what other needs are necessary at that facility, and to spend time ramping up to see what revenue we can pull off, move this into a community services department that we're creating, and have one of our staff actually oversee the development of the center for the next year and a half before we have to 100% operate it on a daily basis. I think it's the best of both worlds for now.
Mr. August?
I don't know how this works. Anyway, my points were Rob's points, so that's it. I don't have anything to say.
Councilmember Furman?
Would we have an annual report, maybe over the past 5 years, of what it costs to operate that facility every year?
We actually have that, and that was what the basis of our negotiation was, and the agreement for the next year and a half of what they're paying. It's in your staff report, I believe. I don't have the figures at my fingertips. About 327,000, I think. Is that right?
A year?
Yeah. That includes staff. They're paying for staff. They're paying for maintenance and day-to-day operations.
I have a couple questions, too. There's two quitclaim deeds. One's for the main building and the other is for the house, the Care Connects. What, I don't like to call it the Care Connexus. They just happen to be occupying it. A for-profit company. A for-profit, it's not a 501c3. They are a for-profit company operating in a 501c. How they got away with that, the county, I don't know. With respect to, so on the quitclaim deeds, if we approve this tonight, when do we take title to the property? When it's recorded, or?
The quitclaim deeds have been approved by the county already. So what we've really been working on in the past year is working on this operating agreement, and the agreements so that the county would continue to operate it for the year. So the county's approved the quitclaim deeds. The operating agreement will go back to the county for their approval. Once that's signed, we're waiting for that to be done to sign the quitclaim deeds. As soon as the quitclaim deeds are signed by the city, it's ours.
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Wyman's being very kind. The county quitclaimed the facility to us in October of 2012, and we did not accept it because we were working on a development agreement. If we had accepted it, we believe the development agreement wouldn't have been there. So we've been hashing this out for quite a while now. Jeff's taken the lead and done a great job. So there's a couple more processes to go through, but for all intents and purposes, we sign it, we send it back to them, we record it, facilities are ours.
And there's some signage that's going to have to be taken care of right away. I mean, it's still got the County of Riverside 3rd District Supervisor all over it. And,
yes.
I mean, we're not even in the 3rd District anymore. And I know that because this process has been going on for so long, monies weren't exchanged to fund that and remove that. I understand. Could you go back a couple of slides to the timeline? Because either there's a disparity between the slide presentation and the staff report, or I'm misreading it. Go forward one more.
Oops, forward or back? I'm sorry.
Forward to where you outline the timing of the operating expenses from the county. Yeah, this one. Okay. The county will continue to pay all operational costs through fiscal year 2014, which is June 30th of 2014. That's in 7 months. And so they're going to also pay the entire, for the fiscal year 2014-15, which is from July 1, 2014 to June 30 of 2015 at 50%.
Correct.
Correct? So I'm starting to wonder why it's such a good deal for me to say yes when I'm only, the way the staff report reads is that we're getting it for a year and a half, but yet we're only getting half of a year, or 7 months, if we approve it tonight, through June 30th at full cost, and then we get 50% for a year. So, I mean, yeah, it's a year and a half of time, but it's a little bit disingenuous because we are not getting full operational costs for 1 full year, which is what I thought we were getting. I thought we were getting 1 full year operational costs and then a 6 months at half. You see what I'm saying? Is there, the staff report is either, let me just go back and read it again. I don't want to keep us here any longer than I
No,
have to. but-
If I could jump in there, I absolutely get your point. This has been a negotiating on and on, back and forth, county council, between us, between the folks at the county who are writing the agreements. This was meant to bring to you in July, and here we are in November, and we're getting it to you. We got it from the county about 2 weeks ago to be able to put it on the agenda tonight.
Okay, so because we got stiffed by the county by 6 months, we're taking it in the shorts by 6 months.
Yes, but also, they wanted to give it to us in October of 2012 without any agreement.
I came into this meeting thinking that we were getting a year and a half of operating costs and a year of full cost recovery from the county and a half of a year of 50%. So I don't know if I'm struggling with this right now. Mr. Furman, you had your light on first.
These operating costs, are they recovered at all, or is that just what the city has to throw out every year to keep it in existence?
There's a small amount of revenue that's generated from some of the services that are provided, but not much. The city would work to ensure that we could get more cost recovery by adding programs that are revenue generated.
Right, but it's still going to be around 300 grand it's going to cost us to operate this thing out of the general fund or out of the budget, right?
Correct. If we continue to operate it as is now, that's about the operating cost that it would be on an annual basis.
Okay.
Mr. Denver.
Part of what I wanted to ask you just answered. I also I'm a little confused, or was up until a second ago. Second thing is that we should then, what I was going to do at the end of this, or the end of tonight, was suggest to this group that, if I could get a second, to put a group together to work, including the council member that's in his district, and maybe one other council member, and then some selected civilians from the community, and start a group to sort of work on what we should be doing, a long-term group. Now I think that maybe we should have a group together of those people, and we should be talking about two issues. One, the long-term function of this organization, but now I think we ought to talk about the short-term revenue-generating possibility of this center, and see if we can't, before we start taking on the cost, maybe we can whittle this revenue problem up to cover some of the costs.
Mr. August?
Was that clear?
Yes.
Yeah, you were.
Do we, I understand your point, Mr. Mayor. This community, are we anticipating having our community development block grants play for this? $157,000, and don't we have those funds available? And are you willing to put this off and go back and renegotiate with the county? Is that what you're intending to do?
Well, no, I'm asking, it just hit me tonight as I'm sitting here listening to the presentation. I thought we were getting something more than what we're actually getting, and it just hit me. And, I mean, I see the staff report for 2014, for the remainder of this fiscal year, which ends June 30th of 2014, the city's cost is zero. From July 1 of 2014 to June 30th of 2015, the city's cost is $157,000. And then in the following fiscal year, we take it over completely. Operating costs as they are reflected in today's dollars, $314. I thought we were getting more than what we're getting, and so it's catching me by surprise. I'm not saying I want to do anything about it. I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. I don't know if there's a way out of this or not, but that's the point that I wanted to make by bringing it up. Deputy Mayor Edgerton.
Thank you, Mayor. So we'll be, in 2016, we'll be obtaining all the revenue. What's the anticipated revenue for our city from that project in 2016?
Negative 300,000.
Well, there's not much revenue coming from the facility at this point in time.
There's maybe $25,000 worth of revenue coming currently.
Okay.
So we would have time to generate opportunities and programs to generate revenue.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed something. So for the year 2016, when it's ours, the city won't be making any revenue off of this building.
Well, we would be making the revenue off the building that's currently being made off the building now, and then we would be generating additional revenue based on the programs that we would be installing in the actual facility itself. Will we ever recover $300,000 worth of expenses for this type of facility? Probably not.
Okay. So when the guy in the street says to me, I thought you were short of money, why are you doing this? What do I say?
You say that we're acquiring a senior center facility that has been formerly owned by the county, that the city wanted to acquire. It's a piece of real property that the city has to keep in its, well, actually to start a city facility, bank of real estate, if you will. And it's a benefit to the community because of the programs that are currently involved in it inside with the seniors that we have now.
So it'll continue to be a senior center?
The idea would be that the programs would continue that are currently in there now. It doesn't mean that there wouldn't be opportunities to do other type of programs after those hours, but the way that the facility is now, we don't foresee much of a change in that unless there's a necessity to do that. And quite frankly, the facility was dedicated for seniors, so there's an opportunity at the current operating hours that it is operating as a senior center to continue it as that. But if there are other opportunities for us, after hours, weekends, when there aren't senior activities going on, that could be a possibility for us to generate revenue to keep it moving, to make improvements, and to create more of a center for the community's needs.
And if the county were to keep the facility and continue to support the operational cost and the program, how would that differ in reference to service to the community than what we're doing now?
Well, I believe the current programs would run as they are for as long as they would be able to run. I haven't seen, not to be detrimental to how the county's been operating the center, but I haven't seen any real new innovations there to bring more people in. There hasn't been much going on in the terms of promoting the center. They do a phenomenal job through the senior community in the programmed hours, and by that I mean in the hours that they operate for the clientele that they have. But there may be other programs that they could develop to bring more people in, and I haven't seen that yet.
Councilmember Furman.
Well, you gentlemen have pretty much touched on what I was going to say. It's basically the county's getting rid of a $300,000 bill and putting on our shoulders. And John has suggested maybe we have to generate additional revenues. And if you realize it, you'd have to generate $1,000 every day of the year to balance out the operating costs, and that's a lot of programs that would have to be generated to get away from the $300,000 that it takes to run this organization. Possibly, could it be used as the Boys and Girls Club during the day, part-time? I don't know. It's just, I think it's a big undertaking for the city to figure out ways to generate $300,000 for that building when we're not going to improve much on the facilities that they do right now. It'll probably pretty much run the way it is running right now, with maybe generating maybe another $20,000 a year in income. That's kind of the way I see it.
Mr. Denver?
Do we include the building that Stone used to be in? Are we getting control of that?
Correct. It is part of the facility.
Gentlemen, we're down in the weeds. we're down in the weeds. That building and I was hoping we wouldn't go down in the weeds, that we'd set up a committee and go through all this, because there's a lot of stuff we can do. That building that was used by Supervisor Stone has to be 4,000 square feet. I'll bet it's more. And if that isn't worth $2 a square foot, I'll be surprised. Two, if you remember a city manager or two ago, we were talking about moving city staff into that place because before the condominiums, before the mobile homes over here were built, we needed space. I suspect we're going to need space there again. I think we're sitting here arguing about stuff that a committee and a couple of council people and staff ought to sit down and talk about. We have plenty of time to work on it, and there is plenty of ways of turning this into, I don't think we're ever going to make this thing a big profit center, but in worst case, we'll move the city into it. And I think we ought to let this a committee form, if I could, at the end of the meeting, get a second for that, and over the next X number of months, work on a plan for this and come back to the council.
Mr. August.
First of all, I'm going to disagree with Mr. Denver. And you know what? Let's remember what this center was for. It was for the seniors, and it should stay for the seniors. And we have to, if we have to parcel out some CBD gems, keep it senior for now, let's do it. We're not taking operational control of it until 2015. So let's not rush. I believe we should take over the building, and let's just let the seniors stay there, and then we can work into a committee later. But there's no rush in this. Okay, thank you, Mr. Tim.
So, man, I'm sorry I took us down this rabbit hole, but the problem, okay, so I'm not opposed, gentlemen, to taking this building over tonight. The building itself, as a piece of real estate, has substantial value. I'm not concerned about the operating costs in 2 fiscal years from now because by then we'll have done an assessment of our parks and rec services. We will have grown property tax revenue and sales tax revenue over that time period, and we'll grow into the operating costs. Because I know on the west side of town here, we operate in the black with our CSA dollars with EDA and the management of our parks and the Lazy Creek Rec Center, do we not? I mean, that's a positive statement. So I'm just being caught by surprise on that one piece, and I'm not prepared. I mean, I'm in agreement with Councilmember August. I don't really want to lay this over or not decide this tonight. I think we should acquire it and move forward. I just wanted to hear staff's answer to my question about we're not really getting what I thought we were getting. Are we? Operating cost-wise?
No.
Okay. Mr. Edgerton.
Jeff, what is is there any deferred maintenance that we know of on that building?
We did have our building department walk through the entire facility. We have a short list of some items that there is some small deferred maintenance on that our building maintenance basically determined over a 5-year plan we should be fine in being able to attend to those items.
And what's the assumed cost of that deferred maintenance?
I can't remember the exact cost. I think it was probably over the 5-year term, maybe 150 to 200,000. City manager, does that sound correct to you?
Yes, that'd be on the high side, but yes.
Okay. Additional questions? I need a motion to adopt this resolution accepting the conveyance from the county to the city.
So moved.
May I have a second? Second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember August? Councilmember Furman?
Yeah.
Councilmember Denver? Deputy Mayor Edgerton? Mayor Mann?
Aye.
Mr. Furman, that was a yes, right? I mean, you sound a little like...
As long as we can expand the hours of operation, yes.
So, thank you very kindly. Thank you for entertaining all of our tough questions. We appreciate it. And when we get to the point where we're asking for future agenda items, if you gentlemen want to put forth a committee to discuss what we're going to do with that building in the future, then we can actually create one. All right, on to agenda item 12.2, approve FY 2013-14 investment policy. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Terry Willoughby, your finance director, has your staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Yeah. Jinxed it.
Government Code 53646 requires the City Council to adopt and ratify the city's investment policy each year. The investment policy was last presented to and adopted by the City Council in December of 2012. The attached investment policy conforms with all California laws governing investment policies of local agencies. The 2012-13 investment policy, which was adopted in December of 2012, was submitted for certification to the California Municipal Treasurers Association, where it was reviewed by 3 different certified professional treasurers. The attached policy incorporates the review comments from the certification process. It was also presented to the Finance Committee recently, and they have reviewed and approved and added comments that were incorporated into this policy. The objectives of the policy in priority order are safety, liquidity, and yield. And that concludes my report. I'll take any questions on the policy.
Are there any questions of council for staff on the policy?
So moved.
Roll call.
I didn't catch the second.
We had a second from, motion
Councilmember
from
Denver.
Mr. Furman and a second from Mr. Denver.
Thank you. Councilmember August, Councilmember Furman, Councilmember Denver, Deputy Mayor Edgerton, Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
On to city attorney reports.
Well, other than working with the planning department with regard to the general plan, it's been relatively quiet.
City manager reports.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I have a few items. As mentioned earlier, the Veterans 5K is actually this Saturday at Wheatfield Park at 8 a.m. And then on Monday at 11 o'clock at the Veterans Memorial, we'll have the Veterans Day event. And as I'm getting past the famous clicker here, I have a couple of other items for you. This is just a report on our city cleanup event. This is the amount of actual supporters and volunteers we had that day, some 30 strong. In the bottom left-hand corner, you see Mr. Furman unloading a very large trailer that you had, and some unbelievable staff workers there on the bottom right.
I didn't get the memo on the photo op.
I didn't either. They took that before I got there, so we'll have to chastise Alan Yoon, who did a great job for us in setting up this event. Not only did we
Mr.
have...
Furman, was that mostly from your own house, the stuff in that truck? Just checking.
Well, it was from 2 neighborhood properties, that's for sure.
All right.
City staff, Councilmember Furman, Waste Management, Eagle Ridge Church volunteers sorted through 8 trash roll-off containers stationed at Menifee Elementary School. And we also had another group headed really by a Generations Church, New Hope, Elevation Church, Menifee Valley Church, Calvary Hills, and Heritage Church. They did a right-of-way cleanup in Quail Valley where they walked along the right-of-way and they collected 60 39-gallon trash bags of debris. This is the first load I had of the day, and this is the 3rd cleanup in a row that I have acquired a full toilet. So, just so you know. This was out on Garbani Road. An empty one, but never mind. I stepped into that one. The type of debris that we collected was a little over 6.5 tons of general trash, almost 2 tons of green waste, appliances and e-waste, almost 5 tons, and over 4 tons of tires.
Wow.
Mr. Furman and I we weren't racing to things, but we were seeing each other throughout the day, finding what we were calling honey holes of debris, and bringing them out for people to unload for us. It was great. The next item I have is just an exciting thing that the paving has begun on Newport Road widening project. Once the north side is completed, traffic will be moved to the south side so the curb and gutter and sidewalk can be worked on, and the south side then can get paved. Is there any update, Mr. Smith, that you want to chime in on there on that one?
It's on schedule.
Beautiful.
Within
That's what
budget.
That's what we like to know, on schedule and within budget. This is a photo of Simpson Road looking south at what will be Menifee Road missing link piece. You can see the elevation of the road is almost right at Simpson Road, and they've been really working to get this thing done. My understanding is they are
on schedule. maybe even ahead of schedule.
Beautiful, beautiful. This was something that I thought I'd bring to your attention. You may have seen the signs in our public right-of-way. Welcome to the city of Menifee. We do have the new population as of May 1st, 2013. But what we've done is added the city's web address and let people know that we're on Facebook and Twitter. Since we're a social community now of people who want information, I thought I'd actually talk about how this came about. In June, I got the staff together and we held what I called a think tank. This was an idea born out of a water cooler discussion between me and a couple of other staff, and we thought, you know what? Why don't we do this more often? Why don't we sit around and talk about how we can do things that will improve Menifee or connect us more to the community? So we came up with a topic, and that was, how can the city connect more with the community? And we held a luncheon. We had, I believe, probably 95% of our staff show up on their own time for the luncheon. We grouped employees into teams. They didn't know this was going to happen, so it was kind of neat. I walked them through what I just walked you through, that this was what we were attempting to do, and the team that came up with the best idea that we could implement would be the winner, and then I took them out to lunch. And the winning team was Tara Magner, Rudy Luna, and James Moore of PV Maintenance. They came up with the idea that since we really want to drive people to the website, I know you quickly pass this as you're going down the road, but if you think about it and you see the Facebook and the Twitter signal, you may check that out and find out more of what we have going on here in the city. I think this is the last one I have. I just want to share with you a building department permit update. Our building department has been swamped. The activity that you'll see from last year to this year is a positive increase of 107% in building permits issued over last year in September. And our building inspections were 407 in September of 2012, and this September there were 1,159, 185% increase. Due to the above noted increased activity, the city's building department revenue has surpassed the projected budget for the fiscal year already. We're doing great. There's a lot of activity out there. Our staff is working hard. Unfortunately, with the amount of construction happening now and anticipated over the next few years, we're going to be bringing back a report to council to consider converting some temporary part-time inspection staff to full-time building inspectors and an office assistant. They're just being overwhelmed. We actually have a senior inspector and an inspector, so 2, and we have 4 to 6 part-time inspectors that come in that are paid for by the deposits and the permit fees, and that are running crazy through the community to keep up with the work that we have. So just wanted to give a kudos to our building department, who is doing the best they can with the amount of staff they have. And that concludes my report
Mr.
for
August
tonight.
had a question.
Yeah. City manager, since you were doing so well in the fee department, permits and so on and so forth, and I think we promised several months ago that we were going to keep an eye on tracking our increased fees. And are you getting any feedback? You don't have to answer this now, but down the road, are we going to get an update on how our fee increases and in some cases reductions are going over with the public?
We, Terry and I have discussed that over the last month or so, and we have contacted Eric Johnson from Revenue Cost Specialist, and we're going to be working with him to get you an update on what that looks like and where we're going. But this doesn't have much to do with increased fees. It has everything to do with increased activity, which is where there's almost 300 homes under construction as we speak right now throughout the city.
Mr. Denver.
What it costs for those Twitter and Facebook signs?
$25 to $30, I think, and then our guys installed
Did
them.
we end up getting new, those, by the way, the signs look great, with the 82,000 something. Did we put stickers on them, or did we buy new
It's the same
ones?
sign. We just continue to clean them up and make them look really sharp, and then we just put the strip right over the population. We don't order new signs. It's just a little strip there that updates the population.
All right. Anything else from you, Mr. Johnson? All right, great report. Thank you, sir. On to any future agenda requests from council. Mr. Denver?
Would like to make a motion that we put together a committee to work on the future of the case in Acero Center. I think it should include, although I leave this up to the mayor and because I think it's ad hoc, I suppose, leave it to the mayor, but my opinion would be as the council person from that district, one other council person, and a city contingent, at least one from each council person and mayor. That's flexible. I haven't thought all that through.
Okay, we have a motion, a second on that for a future committee, so we'll explore that for sure.
Second thing, if I could, I have, speaking of developers and such, I have gotten several objections to something that we apparently are doing, and that is on Fridays, our planning commission, our office, in terms of planning and in terms of building people coming in, developers, is pretty much empty. Nobody's here. Second thing is that apparently a new situation we're doing with a planning director is going to make it where Fridays are once again even more without somebody here. I would like to see, and I'm not giving direction to staff, I'm simply I'm not saying how to do it, I'm saying what ought to be done. We ought to be open 5 days a week at least, and at least 8 hours a day. And I think we're not available in afternoons as much as we should, particularly Fridays. And I think I'm not sure I know what I'm talking about here, but a hiree change is altering planning directors on Fridays. Just giving you information.
Any other comments or agenda items from council?
I have a half-hour speech.
Yeah. I would like to close with, I want to thank staff, both past and present, for the work on the development agreement and the project for Commerce Point 1 and 2. It's been when we went to Las Vegas and we talked with some commercial brokers and everyone, they weren't ready to come to Menifee because we didn't have the footprint ready to go. This will help us get there. 830,000 square feet, and we have more coming down the pipeline. So I just want to thank staff for making this thing go. We're very appreciative. It's a quality development, light industrial in our general plan down there, and we really, really need it. So thank you for that. Also, thank you for your negotiation on the conveyance of the K. Cenicero Center to us, despite the tough questions that got asked. I understand that we're being jammed a little bit, but I think ultimately it'll be a great acquisition for us, for our community, to continue the program, and at least we'll be able to control the destiny. So I want to thank the staff for that as well. And if there are no other comments for tonight, then we are adjourned until the next meeting.